People believe time is a straight road, a sequence of evenly spaced moments stretching from the past into the future. They imagine themselves as passengers on a train that moves in one direction, unable to return to a station once it has passed. But what if that image is wrong? What if time is not a rigid track but something more fluid, more responsive, more open to the influence of your own mind? Look closely at your life. Yesterday feels close, but the events of 5 years ago may seem both distant and strangely alive in your memory. The clock insists that all seconds are equal, yet some moments last forever while others vanish before you can even register them. This alone should tell you, time is not a mechanical ruler. It is elastic, bending and stretching with your perception, your emotions, and your choices. When you are inspired, an hour feels like a minute. When you are bored or lost in despair, a minute feels like an hour. Time expands and contracts not because the universe changes speed, but because your awareness changes focus. The so-called flow that people experience in their most creative or driven moments is proof that you are not merely a victim of the clock. You are a participant in shaping how time moves for you. Consider the way your life can pivot in an instant. One decision, one act of courage, one insight can transform not just the future but also the way you see the past. When you change direction, your relationship to time changes with you. You begin to reinterpret your own history. Mistakes become lessons, delays become preparation. Pain becomes the foundation for wisdom. The past itself feels altered because your present has shifted. This is why change can happen overnight in the human spirit, even if years of stagnation came before it. The truth is that the moment you decide to wake up, the weight of wasted time dissolves. What you thought you had lost becomes irrelevant, because the very fabric of your timeline rearranges itself around your new awareness. Think of time as a river. Most people believe they are drifting downstream, powerless, carried toward an inevitable end. But a river can have many channels, can branch and fork, can flow swiftly or gently, depending on how you navigate it. You are not stuck in one current. You can swim across, find a new stream, or even change the speed of your journey. Your sense of time is the paddle, and your choices determine where it takes you. The illusion of time is that it is something separate from you, something happening outside you that you must obey. The reality is that your mind is woven into it. You can accelerate your progress by acting with intention. You can slow down the beauty of a moment by fully experiencing it. You can, through awareness, step outside the panic of too late or too early and realize there is only now, and it is entirely yours to use. If you delay your awakening because you think the right time hasn't arrived, you will miss the truth. The right time is created, not found. It is born in the moment you decide that what you want matters more than your fear, more than your comfort, more than the stories you've told yourself about what is possible. When you stop treating time as a prison guard and start treating it as raw material, you begin to shape it. You stop counting the days and start making the days count. You start to notice how the quality of your attention determines the quality of your time, and how the quality of your time determines the quality of your life. Curiosity is not just the act of asking questions. It is the silent force that has carried humanity from darkness into light. It begins as a whisper, a small, almost unnoticeable spark in the mind that asks, what if? That whisper can become a roar if you allow it to grow, if you nurture it instead of silencing it. Every discovery, every invention, every great leap forward in human history started with someone daring to ask a question that others ignored. From the moment you were born, you were curious. You reached for objects, stared at faces, and tested the edges of your world. As a child, you wanted to know why the sky changes color, why people behave the way they do, why certain things feel good and others feel wrong. This was your natural state, an unstoppable engine of exploration. Somewhere along the way, the world tried to slow that engine. Systems and routines encouraged you to accept answers instead of seeking them. Rules told you not to look behind certain doors. People warned you that some questions were too strange, too impractical, too dangerous. But the truth is, curiosity is the very energy that keeps your mind alive. When you stop being curious, you stop growing. You begin to live on recycled thoughts, moving through your days on autopilot. Curiosity, on the other hand, shakes you awake, pulls you toward the unknown, toward possibilities you cannot yet see. It refuses to let you settle for the edges of your current map. It urges you to venture into uncharted territory, even if that means risking the comfort of what you already know. Curiosity is the seed of transformation because it asks questions that challenge your reality. It does not simply accept, "This is how things are," as a final answer. It asks, "Could it be different? Could I be different?" These questions may seem small, but they are the cracks in the walls of limitation. Once curiosity slips through, it widens the gap until light pours in. Every change in your life begins with curiosity. You cannot improve your health without first asking what could make it better. You cannot find new opportunities without wondering what might be possible beyond your current circumstances. You cannot change your mindset without questioning the beliefs that shaped it. The act of asking opens the door to the act of acting. Curiosity is not just mental. It is emotional and even physical. It feels like leaning forward, like reaching out your hand to touch something you have never felt before. It brings energy into the body and light into the eyes. It makes the heart beat faster because curiosity is tied to possibility, and possibility is tied to hope. In this way, curiosity is a form of courage. It dares you to admit that there might be more for you than what you currently see. It is also the antidote to fear. Fear tells you to avoid the unknown because it might harm you. Curiosity tells you to approach the unknown because it might teach you. Where fear closes doors, curiosity opens them. This shift in approach can mean the difference between living a small, predictable life and living one filled with discovery and meaning. Even the greatest obstacles lose some of their power when you meet them with curiosity. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What can I learn from this?" That single change in perspective can turn a setback into a stepping stone. Curiosity transforms challenges into experiments and failures into valuable data. Keeps you moving forward when others stop. The beauty of curiosity is that it multiplies. The more questions you ask, the more questions appear. Each answer is not the end, but the beginning of another exploration. This creates a momentum that keeps your life expanding, evolving, and unfolding in ways you could never have scripted in advance. Effort is often misunderstood as a matter of sheer willpower, as though working harder in a short burst will guarantee success. But true effort behaves more like mathematics. Small, consistent actions compound over time, producing results far greater than the sum of their parts. One step forward might seem insignificant today, but repeated enough times, it creates a curve of growth that surprises even the one walking it. Consider how numbers work. Add 1 to 1 and you get 2. Add 1 again and you get 3. At first, the increase is slow and unremarkable. But change the operation from addition to multiplication, and something extraordinary happens. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, and soon the numbers grow beyond what you can easily imagine. Effort follows this same law of multiplication when it is applied with consistency and intelligence. The challenge is that most people expect effort to produce immediate results, like punching numbers into a calculator and seeing the answer instantly. Life, however, is more like a slow equation where the variables are constantly shifting. The first day you practice a skill, you might not see improvement. The 10th day may feel the same. But somewhere between the 100th and 1000th repetition, the compounding takes over. Suddenly, what once felt impossible becomes natural. The mathematics of effort rewards patience and punishes impulsiveness. In the same way, compound interest turns small savings into great wealth over time. Compounded effort turns small habits into great achievements. If you improve by just 1% each day, the change is barely visible in the moment. Yet mathematically, that 1% growth multiplies, and after a year, you are not merely 365% better, you are over 37 times better. That is the exponential law of effort. Small gains, relentlessly repeated, create massive transformation. This is why it is dangerous to compare your journey to someone else's snapshot of success. You may be on day 50 while they are on day 500. The equation of their effort has had more time to multiply. But if you continue your own calculation, refusing to break the chain of daily actions, the same acceleration will happen for you. The curve of growth is universal. It bends upward for anyone who stays in the game long enough. Effort is also governed by the principle of leverage. Just as in mathematics, where a small change in the right variable can alter the entire outcome, placing your energy into the right actions amplifies your results. 10 hours of unfocused labor may yield less than 1 hour of precise, targeted action. The key is to understand the variables of your own equation. Where to focus, when to rest, and how to adjust your method for maximum return. There is also a subtractive side to the mathematics of effort. Just as negative numbers reduce a total, negative habits and distractions can undo the work of your positive actions. Gaining 1% daily while losing 1% to bad habits leaves you stuck in place. True mastery of effort involves not only adding the right actions but also removing the wrong ones. Another important truth is that momentum acts like a multiplier. The more consistent you are, the less energy it takes to keep moving. The equation shifts in your favor because each action builds on the one before it. The hardest part is starting from zero. Just as in mathematics, multiplying by zero erases everything, so starting and stopping repeatedly forces you to reset the equation each time. Consistency ensures that you never drop to zero, allowing your efforts to compound without interruption. In this way, effort is not random. It is a formula that can be learned, applied, and trusted. The inputs are discipline, focus, and persistence. The process is repetition and adjustment. The output is growth that accelerates beyond what your initial calculations predicted. The equation works for anyone willing to keep adding, keep multiplying, and never let the sum of their days return to zero. There is a hidden law at work in life, one that remains invisible until you test it. It is the law that says nothing moves until you move, nothing changes until you change, and nothing answers until you speak. The universe does not respond to thoughts alone, no matter how vivid they are. It responds to movement, to decisions made real through action. Ideas may live in your mind like seeds, but until you plant them, they cannot grow. Every action, no matter how small, sends out a signal. It tells the universe or life or reality, or whatever name you give to the unseen order, that you are serious. It is as though existence is waiting for you to prove your intentions with motion. You can sit still for years, imagining the life you want, and nothing will shift. But take a single deliberate step toward that life, and suddenly events start to align, people appear, and opportunities begin to emerge that were invisible before. Action is the language the universe understands. Thoughts are whispers, action is a shout. When you move, you create ripples. These ripples are not just symbolic. Every action triggers a chain of cause and effect. You choose to exercise, and over time your body changes. You choose to learn a skill, and new paths open because of what you now know. You choose to speak an idea aloud, and someone hears it who can help bring it to life. There is a tendency to wait for the perfect moment before acting, the perfect plan, the perfect clarity, the perfect conditions. But the law works in reverse. Action creates clarity. Movement reveals the map. The path is rarely visible from the starting point. It becomes visible only after you begin walking. Waiting for the path to appear before taking the first step is like waiting for water to flow before turning on the tap. This is why hesitation is so costly. The longer you wait, the more momentum you lose. Opportunities decay over time because the world keeps moving, whether you join it or not. The universe is like a partner in a dance. If you stand still, it cannot respond. But the moment you make a move, it meets you halfway. It does not matter if your step is clumsy or uncertain. The act of stepping is enough to start the exchange. Action also transforms your own energy. When you act, you shift from being a passive observer to an active participant in your life. This shift changes the way you see the world and the way the world sees you. People notice movement. They are drawn to it. Resources flow toward momentum because movement suggests purpose, and purpose inspires others to contribute. Even the smallest consistent actions compound into visible results, and these results feed back into your life as new opportunities. This creates a feedback loop. You act, you receive a response, and the response fuels further action. In this loop, growth accelerates, and what once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. There is another reason the universe responds to action. Action signals commitment. Thoughts can be abandoned, but actions leave traces. They mark your direction. They prove that you have invested energy, and the world tends to give more to those who have already invested. This is why beginnings are so powerful. Once you start, you become the kind of person who starts, and that identity draws experiences to match. The energy you release into the world is mirrored back to you. Move with fear, and you will encounter challenges that test your courage. Move with faith, and you will meet possibilities that affirm it. The quality of your action influences the quality of the response. But the absence of action guarantees the absence of response. Before anything exists in the physical world, it exists in the mind. Every bridge, every invention, every social shift, every personal transformation began as an image, a vision, or a thought that stretched beyond current reality. Imagination is not a distraction from life. It is the blueprint for it. It is the mechanism by which the human mind rearranges the raw material of experience into something new. Without imagination, change is impossible because you cannot move toward what you cannot first envision. Imagination acts like a bridge between the present and the possible. In the present, you have what you have, your current circumstances, your current knowledge, your current limitations. But the possible lives in a realm untouched by those limits. Through imagination, you can step into that realm at will. You can see yourself living in ways you have never lived, solving problems you have never solved, and experiencing a future that does not yet exist. This mental act plants the seeds of change by giving you a clear image to move toward. Most people underestimate the power of imagination because it feels intangible. They treat it as entertainment, something reserved for artists or children. Yet history shows that those who dare to imagine differently often become the architects of new realities. The device you are using to read these words began in someone's imagination. The cities we live in, the music we hear, the medicine we rely on, all of it started as an idea. When you imagine vividly, you give your mind a set of instructions. The brain begins to notice things in the environment that match your vision. You see opportunities others overlook because your mind is tuned to recognize them. This process is not magic. It is focus. Imagination determines the lens through which you view the world, and that lens shapes the actions you take. Imagination also serves as a rehearsal space for the future. You can experiment with ideas without risk. You can test different versions of yourself, different choices, different outcomes. In this private laboratory of the mind, you can fail 1,000 times without consequence, learning with each iteration. Then, when you act in the real world, you carry the advantage of having already walked the path in your thoughts. The most powerful changes often come from imagining not just what is possible for yourself, but what is possible for the world. When you expand your vision beyond personal comfort and into collective transformation, your ideas gain a force that attracts others. People are drawn to those who can describe a better future, because imagination inspires hope, and hope is the fuel of collective action. There is also a deep connection between imagination and resilience. When faced with hardship, it is imagination that allows you to see a way through. Without it, you are trapped in what is. With it, you can see what could be, and that vision pulls you forward even when the present feels unbearable. Imagination turns obstacles into challenges to be solved, and challenges into opportunities for reinvention. Imagination is not limited to grand visions. It operates in small ways every day. You imagine how a conversation might go before you have it. You picture a meal before you cook it. You visualize the route before you drive it. These everyday acts of imagination prove that you are already capable of envisioning and creating. The question is whether you will apply that capacity to the larger and more meaningful areas of your life. Change driven by imagination is not linear. It is expansive. One idea leads to another, each branching into new possibilities. The more you use it, the more it grows. Just as muscles strengthen with use, imagination sharpens with practice. The clearer and bolder your visions become, the more power they have to influence your decisions, your actions, and ultimately your reality.